My name is Sandra Galvin. I'm the coordinator for the HRB TMRN. And I think what's wonderful about today is that having this event in Cork really showcases one of the major strengths of our network, and that's that we are very much a national network. So I'm based along with our director, Professor Declan Devan, in the School of Nursing and Midwifery in NUI Galway. But the HRB TMRN, as part of that, NUI Galway is just one part of a larger jigsaw, so to speak. And we have our partners and representatives across each of the 7 universities and across other organisations such as CSTAR and HRB CRCI. So we're delighted to have this event today, and I want to thank you all for attending and joining in our events. I am into Twitter, and the network is very much involved in Twitter, so we're at HRB TMRN if anyone fancies following us. So this afternoon, I just wanted to give you an update into the network and hopefully highlight little bits and pieces that you maybe didn't know about the network. So these 2 sentences I took from the original grant application. They really summarise what the network is about. So it's and the need for trial methodology in clinical trials in Ireland. And that is that trials need to become more efficient and effective if they are to lead to more efficient and effective care. And the right trials need to be chosen, implemented and reported in the right ways. And that's probably you, Declan, that I'm quoting in that one. But I wanted just to take a little bit of a step back from that and really look at what that means. And I hope and I think that I'm preaching to the choir, seeing as they're all here at a TMRN event. But what really does that mean for people on the ground? So the first one, which I'm delighted to say Sean has given a brilliant overview this morning, all about recruitment. And as he said, recruitment can really kill your trial. And I was laughing to myself. I said that's a great intro to this afternoon, because I am going to touch a little bit on recruitment to clinical trials. But certainly a lot of you can identify with this quotation. It's our trial failed to recruit the numbers of patients we needed. It's a very real problem, and it's something that the HRB TMRN wants to go to in addressing. And I'll share some primary methodology research in this area with you now also. Or you could in fact be the clinician that says, well, I don't have the time to read all of the information. So this could be all of the information that's part of conducting a clinical trial, or it could even be all of the information just to keep yourself up to speed in your own clinical area. So the TMRN are very interested in looking at methods of dissemination of evidence and how we can make this easier for clinicians to be more up to speed in their own area. Or you could be the research nurse that said to us, well, we were unsure about what outcome measures to select as part of our clinical trial, but sure, that doesn't really matter, does it? Now, some of you may be more familiar with core outcome sets and the development of core outcome sets, and this is something that we have expertise in within the HRB TMRN, and we're very happy to talk to you more about this and developing these, because this means we can have greater synthesis of evidence and more meaningful results from our clinical trials. Or you could be the PI that said, considering a more complex trial design is a little bit scary and I'm not very confident in this area. That's a really honest reflection, and I think it's something that we can all appreciate. And trial methodology is very new in Ireland. It's a very new and different landscape. And even as the current research infrastructure is changing all the time, I think this is an honest reflection of maybe the need for developing more expertise in this area. And I suppose that the word I'd hone in on there is confidence. And that's what the HRB TMRN wants to do. We want to give you the confidence to use new methodology research in your clinical trials, but also to kind of help you become a champion for trial methodology research, to advance it in your own right as well. So again, I've just realised this is the 3rd time that this slide has been shown today. But I do think it's quite an important slide, and it does showcase the amount of enthusiasm, energy, and indeed funding that has gone into the new clinical research landscape here in Ireland. And together with HRB Clinical Research Coordination Ireland, the HRB TMRN is very delighted to be at the centre and as seen as a core support to all of the networks that are going to be showcased here today. So it is important, if a lot of this seems new to you, do get to know what these networks are about, because they can offer you something unique and very important throughout. So this is directly taken from our website, and these are our core 4 pillars of how we can help you advance trial methodology, and in turn how we can help you deliver more effective clinical trials. So I'm going to focus a little bit today on research and innovation, because I suppose we're 2 years into our grant now, of a 3-year grant, and we're kind of coming into our own a little bit in what we've done in this space. So you may, I hope many of you are aware that the HRB TMRN is actually a funding body in its own right. So we have a pot of funding from the HRB that we're actually going to give out as funding. And this has been quite successful with our 2016 Study Within a Trial Awards. are the SWASH Awards. So I have a number of key people here today who would be quite happy to speak to you if you have more questions about what a SWAT is. It's basically a way in which you can embed primary methodology research into your trial, and that you can advance those methods using this framework. So, for example, Declan would be happy to speak to you on it. I'm happy, and I know Valerie Smith is in the audience as well, who has published extensively in this area. So the SWAT Awards in 2016 will be repeated again in 2017, and we hope to open this in February 2017. There were €10,000 each in value. They're open to applicants or co-applicants, and I can, if anyone has a query on this, I'm happy to go through it in a bit more detail, but it's open to UCD, NUIG or UCC, but that's not to stop you from having, let's say you're outside these organisations, to link in with somebody within these organisations to get your application in. And we just ask that you become a registered member of our clinical trials expertise database, which I'll just touch on in a moment. These awards are really a great way for more junior researchers to have a real meaningful input into a very large clinical trial, because we don't have our eligibility criteria. As long as you're supported by the main PI in a trial, we're happy to go with you on this. And I think it's a nice way for people to step up and generate their own research funding in this space. And we also have our summer scholarships. So I would ask, if you haven't had a chance to look at the posters at the back of the room, our PhD students and our summer scholarships have presented some fantastic work from their 8-week summer placement, and it's definitely worth the view today. So in total, along the bottom here, that represents about €46,000 in research funding that we have given out to the research community in 2016, and we will do the same again in 2017. So just to put some faces to who's behind this research, I'm just going to announce the 3 SWAT Award winners for 2016. We have 2 of these going to UCC, and the lead here is Dr. Shane Cullinan, who is in the Pharmaceutical Care Research Group here in UCC. And his project is going to look at the influence of different healthcare professionals in delivering an intervention of a medication optimization trial. We have Patricia Carney, who's smiling at me here at the back of the room. I did give her a heads up that I was going to put a picture of her up. Patricia Carney is with the Department of Epidemiology and Public Health here in UCC, and she will be looking at patients' perspectives and preferences on clinical trial dissemination from the TRUST thyroid trial experience. And lastly, we have our colleagues in UCD CSTAR with Dr. Ricardo Segurado, who will be looking at statistical methods for compensating for missing longitudinal data in a clustered randomised trial. So I suppose with each of these bespoke pieces of methodology research, I say watch the space. We hope to have results in these within the next year. And again, we will have another round of funding in this for 2017. So I'd like to now I just need to showcase our HRB TMRN PhDs, who are all in the room with us here today. We have Marina, Jessica, Caroline and Ashlyn, and I'd recommend you all have a chat with them about their projects. I won't go into too much detail here because their posters are located in the back of the room, and they're very enthusiastic and keen to talk to you about what their research is. So on foot of a HRB Kids, which is a Knowledge Exchange and Dissemination Scheme award in 2015, we were lucky to receive one of these awards, and we've been able to turn it into something really meaningful to help address the sleepless nights that Sean Treweek touched on earlier about recruitment to clinical trials. So this is the priority study. It's prioritising recruitment in randomised trials. And we have linked in with the James Lind Alliance and the NIHR in the UK. And we've turned this into, I suppose, it's kind of grown legs, for want of a better word, and into a much bigger and more meaningful project where we're doing a priority setting partnership. And I have to acknowledge my colleague, Patricia Healy, who's in the front row here smiling at me because we've been involved in this over the last number of months. And this is a picture of the team here, and many of you will see some familiar faces from it. Anyone who's familiar with the PSP, as it's called, or a priority setting partnership, this is a way in which you can enable clinicians, patients and carers to work together to identify and prioritise uncertainties about the effects of treatments that could be answered by research. And I highlight the word treatments because we're actually not doing that at all. We're using this method to prioritise areas for research around recruitment to clinical trials. And I believe this is one of the first times that this has been used for primary methodology research. So what this has involved over the last number of months is surveying the trial community, and that's everyone from clinicians, healthcare workers, members of the public, people who've been involved in clinical trials, and asking them for their issues around recruitment to trials. So what made it difficult for them, what made it easier for them. And we've whittled this down through a very open and transparent process with the James Lind Alliance and our colleagues, for example, Sean Treweek and Trial Forge and the MRC HTMR. And we're now ready to do an interim survey where we will whittle this down as much as we can. And in the meeting in the 1st of December, we will hopefully have a top 10 list of research questions which should be prioritised for funding within recruitment to clinical trials. So as I say this, we're going to launch the interim survey this week, which will help us whittle this down even further. We really do welcome your input and your opinions on the questions going forward to make this a very meaningful process. We have people involved in Ireland and the UK involved in this, and we'll be delighted to share the top 10 questions with you in December 2016. So just to give you a flavour of some of the questions that are involved in this process, I picked three at random. I've no idea if these are going to make it into the final prioritisation, but the first one is looking at eligibility criteria and what can we do to optimise eligibility criteria so that they improve recruitment to clinical trials. Very open question, lots of different thoughts in this area, but I think one that could merit research funding in this area. The second question there touches on the use of technology in recruitment to clinical trials. And the last area touches on a very specific aspect, and that's about allocation schedule concealment and the best methods that should be used for that with regards to recruitment to clinical trials. So I'm conscious of time. How long have I left? Yeah, Patricia's smiling at me here. So very briefly, just to touch on two of the support aspects that we have in the HRB TMRN. And the first is the CTED database, this clinical trial expertise database. It's a freely and open accessible database of those that have expertise in clinical trials. We highly recommend that you join it. It's, as I said, it's open and freely accessible. It's about increasing your research profile, increasing your visibility, being able to give you better collaborations for those. Let's say you're working on a grant application and you need someone with specific expertise. This is really the place to go. We currently have 150 members signed up to this, and it's growing all the time. Our second is an online support service, and it's the Trial Methodology and Reporting Advisory Service. It's a very simple online form that you can use to submit any query whatsoever, and we'll guide you through that process. We'll help you along the way. If it's very simple, that's fine. We're quite open and happy to receive any issues. Or it could be something that's very advanced, and we maybe have to even go outside the pool of resources in Ireland and go to the UK, and that's something that we have as well through an agreement with the MRC HTMR. I'll just finish up on this slide. I can send it around to you afterwards just to have a little look at how big we are and who we are. The HRB TMRN currently communicates directly to 2,888 people every 2 weeks through our mailer. We're active on social media, including Twitter and LinkedIn, as I mentioned earlier. We deliver a suite of educational activities just like today, but our online webinars every month are proving very popular, and I welcome you to join in on those. Just to touch on Una's previous presentation about the DIFA applications, we received fantastic, engagement from the trial community on the last DIFA call, and we really are interested in working with people to get involved and actually embed primary methodology research within the DIFA call. And also, as Una mentioned, now is the time to start thinking about the next round, and we're very much open and want to hear with people. We were involved in over 19 requests on the last DIFA call. So maybe just come and speak to us, see what we have to offer, and see how we can help you on your trial journey. Again, we're here for the next today and tomorrow. Very happy to talk to any of you if it's regarding embedding primary methodology research. If you want specific training and education events ran, we're the people to talk to. And again, I encourage you all to maybe apply for a SWAT application in 2017 and apply for a summer scholarship in 2017 as well. So thank you very much.